very good morning to everyone. So in the last lecture we have completed with chapter number 6, that is transaction. So I hope everyone has referred to the PPT of the transaction. And is there any doubt, anyone in transactions chapter? Anyone? Any doubts in the chapter of transaction? Right, so today we are going to start with a new unit, and that unit name is relational database design. One of the most important chapter, I would say, in terms of database creation. So whenever you are dealing with the database creation, whenever you have been asked to create a type of database for a given application, right? So majority of the people try to create the database without referring to the norms that are being given for creating the database. Generally, we do not waste time to create the database based on the norms of the norms that has been provided by some of the international standards. The reason is the standards have defined many different types of things, that you should follow this and this. But if you try to develop your database according to those standards, then what will happen? Your database complexity will get very much large, and if in case of error, it would be quite difficult to identify what is the problem, where is the problem, and how to resolve that problem. So generally we do not follow these norms, but if you follow it, the international standards says that if you follow these standards or if these rules, then your database will never be in an inconsistent state. That is what they are guaranteeing it, right? So today we are going to start with such type of chapter that will help you to create a database in an efficient way. Personally speaking, then even though I have been working as a freelancer since last 10 years, I have never developed my any database using these international standards or norms. The reason is, only the thing is, that is it is just making the database quite complex and as well as bit more tricky to handle it, right? So let's start with this chapter. So I am talking about a chapter called relational database design. A relational database design, right? So these are the few topics that we are going to learn: functional dependencies, closure of FD, closure of attribute, extraneous attribute, canonical cover, finding a candidate key, decomposition, database anomalies, and the last is the normalization or normal forms. So the last topic is the most important topic, that deals with the standards of creating a database, right? So let's start with the topics. So now we are talking about functional dependency. Now what do you mean by functional dependency in general? Let's say let me say let me give you a very simple example, that can I identify a person, a student details, if I have a student's enrollment number? Yes or no? Can I identify all the details of the students if I have the enrollment number of the students, right? So I can say that all the details of the students is dependent on a enrollment number. Let us say a student is having enrollment number, name, semester, age, email, mobile. So if I have a enrollment number of a student, right, then can I identify all the details? Yes, I can identify name, I can identify age, I can know which semester he or she is studying. I can find out what is the mobile number, what is the email address of a student. So I can say that this number, this name, age, mobile number, email, all are dependent on a enrollment number. All are dependent on enrollment number. So we can say that name, age, semester, email and mobile are functionally or somehow dependent on enrollment number. So this is what functional dependency means. Or I can say in other words as enrollment number determines name, age, semester, roll, email address and mobile number. Right, so you can speak up in two different ways. Either enrollment number determines details or details are functionally dependent on enrollment number. So this is the basic concept. This is the basic concept. Clear with the concept, guys? What is the basic concept? Clear with this, the basic concept, everyone? Or any doubts, first of all? Because without these basic concepts, we cannot move ahead. So you need to be very clear. Or shall I repeat again to get it clear more? Right, so let's see then. What is functional dependency? See, as I said, roll number, name, SPI and BL, that is backlog. So this is a student table and I can say that let R be a relation having attributes A1, A2, A3 till AN. So let us say here R is your student, right? R means a relation. So the relation is student, right? Then it is having the attributes called A1, A2, A3 and AN. So we can say that roll number, name, SPI and BL are the attributes of a table, right? So let M and N be the subset of attributes of relation R. Let's say SPI and backlog are the two relations, that is two attributes that are M and N, right? So now if the values of M component of a tuple distinctly determine values of N component, then there is a functional dependency from M to N. So it means that, let us say here again, let us say roll number is my M and this name, SPI and backlog is N. So now what is this? If values of M component, right, distinctly determine values of N component. So if roll number determines name, SPI and backlog of a student, right, then we can say that there is a functional dependency from, it should be here N to M, not M to N, it should be N to M. I will change it, don't worry. Right, so we can say that there is some functional dependency from N to M. That means that name, SPI and backlog somehow depends on this roll number. So that is what the main concept of functional dependency means. So it is denoted by M to N. So whoever determines will be on the left hand sides, whoever is the dependent will be on the right hand side. So M determines N. So I can say here roll number determines name, SPI and backlog. Roll number determines name, SPI and backlog. So this is the basic concept of functional dependency. Any doubts, anyone in this? We can say that N is functionally dependent on M, or M functionally determines N. Clear with this, guys, first of all? Or any doubts? Just go through the lines again. And still if you have any doubts, just tell me. Just go through it once and tell me if you have any doubts. No, Nilesh, we cannot write down N to M because we are saying that M is identifying N. So we cannot say N can identify M. Let us say you are having only a backlog, right? And if you have backlog value called 1, then can I find out the roll number, the name and the SPI from this 1? Just tell me yes or no. Can we identify this one? If I have this value 1, can you identify the SPI? Can you identify the name? Can you identify the roll number? Yes or no? Right? So we cannot say that if M to N, then N to M. No. M to N means only this can identify all others. Let us say if I have the name, can name alone identify all the things? Can name identify roll number, SPI and backlog? Yes or no? Everyone, it is a common question to everyone. If I have a name, then can name identify roll number, SPI and backlog? Yes or no? Yes, no, because it can be a duplicate. The names can be duplicate, right? So we can say that only roll number right now can identify name, can identify SPI, can identify backlog. But in other cases, it cannot be identified all the other attributes. So it can be only M tends to N. It cannot be N tends to M. This will be completely wrong. Just remember this thing. Don't get confused yourself. Just remember, whatever is on the left hand side of the arrow, that will be a determinant, and whatever is on the right hand side of the arrow, that will be a dependent. So determinant on the left hand side, determinant on the right hand side. Sorry, dependent on the right hand side. Just make sure with this. Clear everyone now? Or any doubts? Clear, guys? Or any doubts still? See, this is the basic concept. If you have gone through this, we are ready with the chapter. Anyone still requires a revision? Anyone still requires a revision? Anyone still requires a revision in this? Yes or no? Okay, right, then let's move on next. Sorry. So you can still see this is the second example. Again here we can say that if I have a branch Rajkot, let us say if I have a branch Can I identify the balance, the customer name, the account number? Yes or no? If I have only a branch called Rajkot, can I identify balance, customer name and account number? No. Can I have, if I have account number, if I have account number, can I identify the customer name, balance and branch? If I have account number, can I identify customer name, balance and its branch? Yes, because account number will be unique for each and every one. So I can say here that account number distinctly identifies other attributes. Thus I can say account number tends to customer name, balance and branch. So clear with the concept now, guys, everyone? So clear with this now, right? So let's move on to the types of functional dependencies then. So what is the first type of functional dependency? It is full functional dependency. Now what is full functional dependency here? In a relation, the attribute B is fully functional dependent on A if B is functionally dependent on A but not an proper subset of A, not on any proper subset of A. Let's see the example. It is quite confusing. So let's say that enrollment number, name and semester together identifies result. Yes or no? Enrollment number, name and semester together identifies result. Yes or no? Yes. So if I try to remove any one of them, and still will it be able to identify the result? Let us say I am trying to remove this name. So if I have enrollment number and semester, can I identify the result? Yes or no? Yes, name can be removed because enrollment number will be unique for each and everyone. So now you can see here very clearly that enrollment number, name and semester is identifying the result. So this result, which is the B part, so this is B and this is A. So now what does this full functional dependency means? Full functional dependency means that whichever is the determinant and whichever is the dependent, both should be different, right? So this result cannot be the part of this determinant. This result cannot be the part of this determinant. Both on the left hand side of the arrow as well as the right hand side of the arrow, both should be different or unique, right? So this result cannot be the part of this enrollment, name and semester. So this is what full functional dependency means. Full functional dependency means this result cannot be the part of this particular A. So this is A tends to B, right? So A is having different values and B is also having different values. So this is what full functional dependency means. Clear with this, guys? Clear with the full functional dependency? If we try to remove the enrollment number, then it won't be able to identify all the data because the names can be same. Already we have discussed earlier. You can have Nilesh Ajani more than one students, either in a college or in a university or anything. So if we try to remove enrollment number, then this functional dependency cannot be established. Let's say here, as per Nilesh is saying, if we remove this enrollment number, then this name and semester cannot identify the result. You will have a duplicated data. You will have a redundant data. So clear with this now, or is there any doubts? Anyone? So full functional dependency means left hand side of the arrow and right hand side of the arrow will be having different values, right? Then comes partial functional dependency. So what is partial functional dependency? We can say that a partial functional dependency will be having some values or common values on the left and the right side of a arrow. A partial functional dependency will be having the common values either, or I would say it will be having a common values on the left as well as the right side of the arrow. So you can see here, enrollment number, name and semester determines semester. This is not required, because if I have the enrollment number and name, I can still identify this semester. But still I have taken this semester in the left hand side of the arrow, right? So just to prove it whether it is a partial functional dependency, right? Just to prove it that it is a partial functional dependency. That is why I have taken it on the left hand side of the arrow. You can see that enrollment number and name can still identify this semester. This semester here is not required, but just to show how the partial functional dependency looks, I have taken this example, right? So even if we remove some of the attributes, the dependency will remain as it is. It is not like the first one, right? It is not like the first one. If we try to remove this enrollment number, then this dependency will not be there. But here if I try to remove this semester, right, then still this dependency will be there. This dependency will be there. So this is what partial functional dependency means, right? So just go through this once and tell me if you have any doubts. Anyone, any doubts in this? Okay, then let's see the third one, the transitive functional dependency. Now let's say A to B, B to C and C to A. So if let us say account number, right, determines customer name determines branch, then we can say that account number determines branch, or branch determines account number. So this is what transitive dependency means, transitive functional dependency means, right? Clear with this? Transitive functional dependency, A to B, B to C, then A to C or C to A, whatever you can call. Clear guys? Transitive functional dependency. Right? Then comes trivial functional dependency. Your trivial functional dependency will be same as your partial functional dependency, and your non-trivial functional dependency will be same as full functional dependency. You can check it out if you want. See, consider A to B, then it is said to be trivial functional dependency if B is the subset of A. So either on the left hand side and the right hand side there should be some common values, that is trivial functional dependency or partial functional dependency, right? Or non-trivial means there should not be common values on the left and right side of the arrow. So on the left as well as right, there should be different values, right? So we can say here this is non-trivial functional dependencies, right? Both the sides are having unique or different values. So this is what trivial and non-trivial functional dependency means. Just go through this and tell me if you have any doubts, because it is just the repetition of full and partial functional dependency. Transitive means A to B, B to C, A to C then. Trivial means partial functional dependency, both the sides of arrow contain some common columns. Non-trivial means full functional dependency, that means both the side of arrows contain different or unique values. That's it. So it's quite easy to remember in this way, as I said. Right, so is there any doubts in this? Anyone? Anyone? Any doubts in this? Okay, then let's move on to the next. Now comes closure set or Armstrong's axioms. Now what is all this thing? Just remember one thing. Let us say you will be given some relation. Let us say I am saying that you are having relation R, a table R, and it contains some columns like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Just listen it carefully, because this is the basic idea of closure set. You are having one table or relation called R, right? And you are having some attributes or columns called A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? By default, some of the functional dependencies will be given to you. By default, some of the functional dependencies will be given to you. Like let us say A to B, B to D, E to G, likewise, right? Then you will be asked to generate some other functional dependencies considering the given functional dependencies. You will be asked to generate other functional dependencies considering the given functional dependencies. Now if you want to create the other functional dependencies considering the given functional dependencies, right, then you will require some rules that you will use to create those functional dependencies. You will require some rules to generate the other functional dependencies from the given functional dependencies, and those rules are known as Armstrong's axioms. Those rules are known as Armstrong's axioms, or you can say inference rules, or you can say inference rules. Clear with the concept, guys, what I said? Right, so what is Armstrong axioms or inference rules? You will be given a table with some columns, you will be given some default functional dependencies, and you need to create some other functional dependencies using these Armstrong axioms or inference rules from the given functional dependencies. So this is what the basic idea is. Right? So let's see what is it actually. So these are the rules. The first one is reflexivity. If B is a subset of A, then we can say that A determines B, right? Then comes augmentation. If A to B, if A determines B, then if I add a common column on both the sides of the arrow, if I add a common column on both the sides of the arrow, then still we can have a functional dependency. That means if A determines B, then AC determines BC. So you can see that C is a common column. Then comes transitivity, already discussed, A to B, B to C, then A to C. Pseudo transitivity. Let us say you are having A determines B and BD determines C. So already we know that A determines B. So in BD to determine C, we can replace B by A. So that is what AD to C is, right? Because here you can see that very clearly A determines B. So here it is BD determines C. So you can replace this B by A. So AD determines C. Then comes self-determination, A to A. Decomposition. You are having A determines B, C together. So you can say A determines B, A determines C. You are just decomposing it. Similarly, if you have a combine, then you can compose it. That is union. So you are having A to B and A to C. So you can say that A to BC. And last one is composition. That means A to B and C to D. So you can see that in both the functional dependencies, all the values on the right hand side and the left hand side of the arrow is different. So what you can do, you can club together the left hand side and club together right hand side. So you can see that AC to BD, AC to BD. So these are the few rules that you are going to use to create a functional dependencies from a given functional dependencies. Just go through these rules again and then we shall see the example. Go through the rules and then we will see the examples. So clear with these rules, guys, everyone, or is there any doubt? Clear, everyone? Okay, so let's see. So now we are going to find out closer set of functional dependencies. Now what do you mean by closer set of functional dependency? As I said, you will be given one table with a set of attributes and you will be given some default functional dependencies and you need to find out some other functional dependencies from the given functional dependencies. And when you find out those functional dependencies, that is known as closer set of functional dependency. That is known as closer set of functional dependencies. Right, so you can see here, it is a set of functional dependencies that can be created from the existing set of functional dependency. Right, so you are having a relation, you are having attributes, you are having existing set of functional dependencies and you are creating some other set of functional dependencies. Then that set of functional dependencies is known as closer set of functional dependency. You can see the example. You are having f equals to a to b and b to c, right? And now you are creating one new functional dependency called a to c. So this A to C is known as closure set of functional dependency, and it is denoted by F plus. So here A to C is called closure set of functional dependency, denoted by F plus. So go through this slide and tell me if you have any doubts. So clear with this, guys, everyone? Shall I repeat what is closure set? Closure set means a set of functional dependencies created from existing set of functional dependencies. Right, so let's go for the example of it. See, you are given one relation called R, and these are the few attributes that are given to you: A, B, C, G, H, I. Right? Now, these are the few functional dependencies that is given to you: A to B, A to C, CG to H, CG to I, B to H. So these are the default functional dependencies that are given to you. Now you need to create a set of functional dependencies which are different than this, and that you can create from this, that are different from this, and you can create from these functional dependencies, and that will be known as F plus. So let's see how to create it. So you are having A to B and B to H. You can see here you are already having A to B. Just give me a moment. You are having A to B and B to H. So using transitivity rule, I can create A to H. So this is the first functional dependency I have created from the existing one. I have used transitivity rule here, right? Then you have CG to H and CG to I. So using union rule, I can create CG to HI. So this is the second one, second functional dependency, right? Then I have A to C and CG to I, right? So I can say that using pseudo transitivity rule, I can have AG to I, because A already determines C, so I can replace here C with A. So this is what pseudo transitivity rule is, AG to I. I have A to C, right? I have A to C. Then using augmentation rule, I can have AG to CG, right? So I already have A to C. So now if I use augmentation rule, that means I am adding a common column on both the sides of the arrow. So the common column is G here, so AG to CG. And then using this AG to CG and CG to I can use transitivity rule to get AG to I. Right, so I have used this output here as an input, right? And already I have CG to I with me. So this is what I have done. So these are your functional dependencies that you have created from the given set of functional dependencies, and denoted by F plus, denoted by F plus. So just go through it. You can create the other functional dependencies if you can see, and you can create. It is not compulsory that you will create only those functional dependencies that I am showing you, right? So just remember this thing. So go through it once and tell me if you have any doubts. Yes, A to B, A to C, then A to B, C. That can be created. Yes, very right. So just go through it once, and still if you have any doubts, tell me. Then we can go for the next example. Then we can go for the next example. No doubts? Anyone? I'm giving you 2 minutes still. You can just go through the example once. Any doubts? Anyone? Yes, students, any doubts? Anyone? Shall we move on to the next example then? Let's see the next example then. Okay, so this is just the example that we have seen now. Yeah, so now this is your next example. Again, you are having a relation called R, and you are having the attributes called A, B, C, D, E, F. And now you are having these functional dependencies: A to B, A to C, CD to E, CD to F, B to E. Now find out the other set of functional dependencies. Write it down in the chats, the possible functional dependencies. Also write down the rule that you are using to create it. You have to write down the rule that you are using to generate a functional dependency. I am giving you 2 minutes to generate the functional dependencies from the given one. Let me check whether I have answers. Union CD to E, CD to F, then CD to EF, very good. A to BC, CD to E, F, A to E. Okay, Jai, can you just write down, Jai, write down the rules that you are using. Then Nilesh is writing A to B, B to C, transitivity, A to C, very good. Then Shivanand is asking, yeah, same thing, A to B, B to E, and A to E. Yes, very good. Okay, so let's see what can be the different functional dependencies that you can create from this. So first one is A to BC. We are using the union rule, right? You are using union rule, A to BC. Then you have CD to EF, again a union rule. Then we have A to E, using the transitivity rule of A to B and B to E. Then we have AD to E, using pseudo transitivity rule. You have AD to F, again using pseudo transitivity rule, right? Because A to C is there, so I can replace C with A in CD to E and CD to F. So these are your few functional dependencies. So this is your closer set of functional dependency F plus. A to BC, CD to EF, A to E, AD to E, AD to F, and other that you have written in your chats. Right? So I hope now it is clear, everyone. Or still is there any doubt? Clear, guys, or any doubts? Clear with this, or any doubts? Right, so far what we have done is we have identified some of the functional dependencies from the given functional dependencies. and that we call it as closure set of functional dependencies. Now what we are going to do is, let us say you will be having a relation, you will be having a set of attributes, you will be having one default set of functional dependencies, and now we are going to find out closure set of attribute. What we are going to do, we are going to find out closure set of attribute. Now what is closure set of attribute? Let us say you are having a table, relation table, attributes and default functional dependencies, and then you will be given one attribute from the existing attributes, and then you need to find out which other attributes that particular attribute determines, or which are the other attributes that are functionally dependent on the given attribute. So that is what we call it as closure of attribute, closure set of attribute. You will be having relation, set of attributes, set of default functional dependencies, and now you will be given one attribute from the given set of attributes, and you need to find out which other attributes functionally depends on a given attribute. Let's see this slide. The set of all those attributes which can be functionally dependent on a given attribute, then it is known as closure set of that particular attribute. It is denoted by A plus. It is denoted by A plus. So no need to go for these rules. We can directly see the example. See, you have been given the relation R. You also are given the attributes A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and the default functional dependencies are A to BC, BC to DE, D to F, and CF to G. And you need to find out A plus. Now here A plus means, you need to find out what all attributes are dependent on this A. So which different attributes this A determines very easily. You need to find out which different attributes this A can determine alone. So using this functional dependencies, you need to find out what different attributes this A will be able to determine. So this is what we call it as closure set of attributes. This is what we call it as closure set of attributes. Clear with the definition, everyone? First of all, what is closure set of attribute? The closure set of functional dependency is a set of functional dependencies created from the existing one. But the closure of attribute A or attribute is the number of attributes a given attribute can determine is known as closure of attribute. So clear with the definition, everyone? Or any doubts? I am talking about closure of attribute. So we are finding closure of attribute A. So let's say A plus will be having A itself, because it is having a self determinants, or it is self dependent. So A is having A. Then ABC, because A tends to BC. Right, A tends to BC, so it is having ABC. Then ABCDE, because BC is determining D, so you can use transitivity rule here. A to B, BC, then BC to DE, so ultimately A to DE. Then we will have ABCDEF, because A is identifying D, right, using this earlier one. So D to F can be possible, so directly you can identify. And last one, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, using CF2G, because A is identifying F as well as C, so it can identify G. So you can see that A is determining all other attributes of the table, right? So this is what the closure of A means. Yes, Jay, very good. A can determine every other set of attributes. So this is what closure of attribute A means. I hope it is clear, everyone, first of all, or any doubts. Any doubts, anyone? We will revise this closure set of attribute again in the next lecture. So I think let's end the lecture here.